We're live, Mr. Reeves. How are you? Welcome
Wow.
back.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while.
Yeah, a week.
It feels
But
longer than that.
it does feel like longer.
Yeah.
Happy summer,
Yeah, it's June finally.
finally, and it's cold out here right now in New York.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a bunch of wind this morning here in Colorado. So but glad to be here. We have a new topic today. And this one, like as I was saying that as I was thinking through the title we came up with, I was thinking that sounds kind of harsh, but let's go with it and see where we go. It's
It
Dummy's
is
Guide to
harsh.
Excuses.
It is
Go
harsh,
ahead.
but it's true. Blame it on the pandemic. Hi, my name is Jimmy Allen, and welcome back to the Dumbest Guide to Excuses. Again, my name is Jimmy Allen, and I'm a love and relationship coach. And this
I'm Kevin
is
Reeves. I'm a leadership coach, and we are here to talk to you. We've been doing this little series on excuses, and today we're talking about blame it all on the pandemic. And like I said, it's harsh, but it's like one of those things because like it's a big topic. You know, there's
oh, yeah,
definitely those people who blame what's going on in their life because of the pandemic, and there's definitely some truth to that. We don't want to deny any of that, because there are people who've been really affected, and it has been a really challenging time for a lot of people. In that, it's become really trendy and really popular, and accepted to be able to blame your problems on the pandemic. And so I think, as we were just talking right even before we started this, just thinking about like it's not always just about, it doesn't happen to, right now happens to be about the pandemic, but it doesn't always have to be that way. A lot of time is just what's convenient to blame our setbacks on.
right. And I want to start out with saying, like, I remember last year when it started, how I just started working with my first business coach, and we had a retreat. And one of the very first things she said, she's broken out. She said, I'm gonna see, can I get this right? There's gonna be three type of people. She said there's gonna be people who are gonna want things to go back the way it is. There's the other person who is going to don't know what to do, and there's the other person who is just going to use this as opportunity to move forward. Which one are you? And then she also said, do not let the pandemic fool you. There, people are going to use the pandemic as an excuse to why their business will not grow. And I didn't notice about her when I signed up with her, but she said, I grew my business. She said, I quit my job as a teacher. The next day, I started my business on September 10th. The next day was 9/11. And I was like, wow. And she was like, 9/11 happened. I started my business as a business coach. And she said, even though 9/11 happened, by the end of the year, she still was able to bring in six figures in her business. So she's
Yeah.
like, do not use this or allow this to be your excuse to why your business will grow or not grow. And I was like, whoa. And I could see those three different type of people that she always described, that people wanted to go back to the same, oh, because of this, or even in relationships. As a love and relationship coach, people used the pandemic, or it forced us to do this. It's like, no, like you're still choosing. No matter what the circumstances are, we still have a choice and a say in the matter of how things can go.
Right. And it really goes back to that whole idea that no matter what comes at you in life, I heard this saying once that 10% of life is what happens to you, and 90% is how you respond to it. And
Yeah,
it's like the person who wins the Olympic race and they are missing legs, or the person who just really perseveres and does well despite the odds. And
Mr.
people have told me that about my marriage. My wife and I got married super young, and so it's like statistically we should have been divorced. But we're celebrating 19 years right now, so we've been we got married when we were 19 and 24. And my wife always says, you know, we both married pretty crappy people. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, no, like, you know, who's awesome as a spouse when they're 19 and 24? Like most people aren't. And we certainly weren't. But we beat those odds. And so it's those choices though. We chose to stay together. We chose to work out our problems. We chose to communicate. And a lot of that has helped us over time. So it really does come back to that choice.
Yeah, and like choosing and choices always come down to choice. And like and I remember I think we were talking about this yesterday, and I know it sounds so simple. And I was actually talking to someone yesterday. I was like, it just really comes about his love life, and I said it really comes down to love or fear. And I think it was because our conversation we had yesterday, I was able to bring that to the table with him. It's like you're either choosing love or fear when you're on a date. Like, are you in that place of love? Like you're not allowing your circumstances, your past to allow you to affect how you're going to show up on this date, how you're going to show up in a marriage, how are you going to show up wherever stage you are as a single person or in a marriage or in a relationship. Like you're choosing love or fear. And if it's not going the way you want it, sometimes circumstances happen, but at the end of the day, sometimes our fears sometimes take over because of what happened in the past. And especially if you haven't dealt with the circumstances of the past or past relationships, and you bring it to the table, because sometimes you're unconsciously bringing those things, or you develop this core beliefs about yourself and you bring it to the table. And one thing I always say, to some clients, like, why is this always, people say, well, why is this always happening to me? Like, why do I have to learn this now? I said, well, you spent like whatever age you are, you've been 35 years doing the same thing over and over and over again. Now I'm asking you to unhinge that. And of course it's going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to feel unnatural, but it's building a muscle. It's like, and finally he realized, like, oh, it's a practice. Like, yeah, it's a practice. Like, you spent 35 years and now I'm asking you to do something totally different
Right.
to align you with the thing that you want.
Right. Right. And sometimes it might just be really thinking like actually changing like the perspective of who you are, really
Yeah.
changing your identity in it, because like maybe, it's losing weight and you're like, I'm the overweight guy, or I'm the unsuccessful business person, or we have these labels that we have on ourselves. And for a lot of us, it's changing those ideas about who we actually are, because, when push comes to shove, if you're trying to like make this massive change and then you like you go back to your identity. Well, I'm this unsuccessful business person, so I have to go back. And you kind of start going back in those habits. And rather than changing that perspective and going, you know what, I'm a successful business person. I'm a content business person. I'm a confident business person, really changing that narrative on who you are. And so then taking those small steps that are going to help you get to that, what would a confident business person do in this situation? What would a successful business person do in this situation? So you have like this persona that you start leaning into. But before then, you just have this like identity and this story and these labels that we keep telling ourselves. So I love that, because it's like, you're right. It is a habit. It takes time, but we have to kind of break that down to kind of start making some progress and some steps.
Yeah, and it's going back to something we said yesterday. It's like be, do, have. Like, who do you need? You're right into that. Like, who do you need to be in order to do the next step to have the result? And kind of when I say who do you need to be, sometimes people get that confused. It's like what you said. I need to be confident. Like, a confident person is going to tackle the situation, or create these new steps. So I need to be, and I know this may sound kind of like out there, like I need to be brilliant and creative and spontaneous, like, and be in that sort of mindset of like, well, what will a brilliant, spontaneous, confident person, what would they do? Sometimes I like to also like model like something I've been doing lately of like, okay, these are the top coaches in the world, relationship coaches. What are they doing? Who are they being? Like what? And like, how can I model them? and I started to like emulate them. I started writing this list down of things I'm going to tackle. Oh, I need to get this and this and this, that in place. So who do I need to be? How do I get that? What are the steps and actions I'm going to take in order for me to achieve that? Who do I need to become in order to achieve that? Like
Right.
being consistent. Like sometimes, a lot of the time, and in relationships, it works the same way. Like being consistent and trusting like who you're becoming is going to produce the end result, because a lot of us, especially now, we want really quick results. And especially in relationships, when you're developing a new skill of like, I was talking to a guy yesterday, it's like becoming a we conversation in a relationship. It takes time and a muscle to like learn, like how can we get to this point in our relationship, how can we resolve this, because it's a new kind of thing when you've been spending 30, 40, however you are, being me, being single, and now you're in a committed relationship. Now it's a we conversation. Things have to shift and change and build that muscle around becoming a we couple so you can develop that relationship.
Right. Well, it's so important that within that you have like some grace in there, because again, it's like something you've never done before, something you've never really tried before or really thought about before, or maybe you just have very little practice doing it. So that's a great place to really practice giving yourself a break. I mean, you don't expect a kid to pick up a bike for the first time and just ride off. Yeah, we do that to ourselves all the time, right? That I've never tried this before, but I should be good at it. I've been doing stuff my whole life. What are you talking about? You've never done this. And so really having that space to try and to go, oh, you know what, that didn't work so well. I think I'm going to adjust and do this differently. And it's not that you've actually failed. It's not that you suck at it. It's that you're learning. And so you're adjusting and you're tweaking things and you're making things fit to how you need them to fit so that you can be successful at it. And as you practice that, there's going to be bumps. And I think, so many times we want perfection. And that's what we come back to with this whole idea of like blaming it on the pandemic, is that we don't want people to see us fail. We don't want people to see us at our worst. And so we pick the convenient thing. It's totally socially acceptable. Why? Because a lot of people have been affected by the pandemic. A lot of people have had their lives upended. And so because of that, it's really cool if we say that, oh yeah, the pandemic's really gotten in my way, my business, or I was going to move to France, but then this happened and the pandemic happened and I couldn't do that. So that's off the table. We can blame, and it's cool. And that's what, like, as we look at this, it's not anything specific to the pandemic. It's really, what are the excuses that you're putting out there that are socially acceptable? Depends, what the people group you're with or the type of challenge that you're working on. But a lot of times we pick those, we work so hard to preserve this idea of like what we look like and to put our best self forward. That's what Facebook's all about, right? And Twitter, we put all this stuff out there that is like, this is the best me. Look at this. We really want people to think that we're awesome. And so often those are excuses. It's not really what's going on. We always put our best foot forward. And so, really thinking about that, what are the excuses that we're using that we end up believing ourselves because we tell it so often? That's a real place that we're kind of coming from as we talk about this topic today.
Yeah, and I love what you said, because it's like it's so easy to use the pandemic because people are going to agree to, oh yeah, like it's like, and it's like it's an easy pass,
Yep.
and it goes back to, we've been talking about this we've been reiterating it, like a part of your social structure. Are they supporting you, or are they keeping you in the same place? And have a good support structure, or you're in a good cohort, like a coaching group or a group of people trying to elevate, they're not going to buy it. They're not going to buy that bull crap from you. And I remember last year, a friend of mine was like, "You're not going to make money during the pandemic." And I was like, and most people will buy that. It's like, yeah, you're right. And agree, make that agreement. A lot of you have
Yeah.
made that agreement that, oh, we're going to struggle in a relationship, or you're going to, not make money. And I remember in that moment when he said that, I was like, watch me. And that is going back to deciding this is not going to affect me, or in this moment what we're talking about today, this is no longer going to affect me anymore. I can't use that as an excuse anymore. I'm
Right.
going to make a decision today. I'm going to decide that I'm no longer going to use this as an excuse. And I took it, usually take it a step further. Even the friends who doubted me would say I couldn't do that. I called my friend back and said, "You watch me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this." And he was shocked that I was doing it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it because I decided I'm not going to have even speak that into the existence and
Yeah.
surround myself with people who are doing the same thing because they're going to inspire me. Because if I see they can do it, then I can do it too. People are getting
Right.
in relationships now because they said this is not going to be a hindrance for me. I can still get in a healthy relationship, pandemic or no pandemic. I'm deciding that is happening for me.
Yeah.
Deciding.
Right. And that, it just reiterates that whole idea of choice. It really does. It's such a beautiful example of that, of just saying, like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to get there, and mapping it out. And there's, again, bring that grace on yourself in the pandemic. A lot of people were like, oh, I'm going to learn Japanese during the pandemic. I've got so much time at home, or I'm going to like build a whole new home gym in my house. And you didn't get to it. And there's a spot in there that's like, you know
Mm.
what? This is a pandemic. There were a lot of people who were just terrified the whole time, really filled with fear. They didn't understand what the whole virus was about. They didn't understand. We still don't, but really scared about it. And then having just the world on fire with, like, all the politics and all the racism, and there's so many different things that filtered into our TVs and our computers over that time. And a lot of people were just kind of petrified and frozen from it and didn't really know how to respond to it. And again, there's that grace place in there of, it's okay. You were scared. That you don't have to like achieve, like really, get all these things knocked off. And I mean, this is the first, how many of us have been through a pandemic before? None of us. So,
Right.
really just giving yourself a break there, and realizing that was where you were at. But now again, once you're aware of it, then you get to make that choice. Okay, well, now that I know what I know, where would I like to go now? It might be a
Yeah.
real small baby step for one person. It might be a giant step for someone else. But again, bring that grace in and let yourself be where you need to be to get where you want to go.
Right. And I love what you're saying. You keep bringing up grace, and it's like, I will add like, forgiveness and making amends with yourself. And every moment, you can decide to make a new step, a new choice. Like every single moment, you have a chance to start over again. Like
Mhm.
it's not the end. You have every single moment to make one step today. What's the next best step? It's just a question that I've been asking myself over and over. What is the next best step to get me to the next level? I've been writing
Yeah.
it down, making me a list. How can I achieve this month? Like, what is the next best step? What is the next best step? What is the next best step? And who can I ask? Who can I enroll or ask to help me with this? You don't have to do this alone. Like
Right.
asking for help, asking for help is huge. Why do you have to do it alone? Like when you ask for help, you actually accelerate your growth in anything, whatever you do, even in relationship, asking for help. I want to get to the next level in my relationship. I'm tired of being single. I'm tired of where I am in my job. Asking for help is huge, and it accelerates where you are. When you come in agreement with someone, you actually accelerate your growth and your earning potential in your relationship blossoms.
Yeah. And like, so I guess, you know, the question as we kind of wrap things up here is like, what's the next micro step that
Yeah.
you can take that can get you to that next spot? You know, so many times we feel like we have to have like this major step, this major, well, I'm going to quit my job. Well, that's pretty huge. You've never done that before. Or, you know, there's a lot of stuff to consider in there. Take it smaller. You know, what's one way I can spend my money maybe differently that would get me to my next step? I can start investing in myself. I'm going to buy a book a month. That's my goal, whatever it is. I'm going to attend a webinar. I'm going to reach out to a friend for coffee because they have experience in this industry I want to break into. Whatever it is. What's that next micro step that can help you? Maybe it's just changing your perspective of who you are, what your potential is. You know, so many times we have like this, well, this is who I am. That is so fluid. It can change so much.
Another easy excuse.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah. So to be thinking about what is that next micro step you want to take, and then when do you want to have that done by? And give yourself, again, fit it in there with the grace. Maybe it's like, oh, I think I'm gonna start trying to go for a walk every day. That clears my head and it'll help me like get moving and active because I want to lose a little bit of weight. Great. And then you try it and you're like, actually my knee's killing me. And you beat yourself up. Oh, I knew I'd have some excuse. Of course this would happen to me. Well, you know what? You just found out your knee hurts. So maybe try a pool. Maybe try walking once a week. You know, start out smaller. It's okay. You can figure and adjust, and you don't have to do be so hard on yourself and have it all figured out. So,
and before I close out, I really love what you're saying. I want to add to that. Like I would say, make a list of those things. Now, don't get overwhelmed by the list. Like start to look at the things. What are some easy things that I can do and circle them? And I love what you're saying. Put a due date on it, because one of my coaches, she would say, if it's not in your calendar, it ain't happening. It's just on a piece of paper. And so don't get overwhelmed. Circle the things that you can do right now so you can have really, really small wins go a long way, and it boosts your confidence and it helps you further along and your endorphins. So it makes you feel good that you're accomplishing these little small things to get to the bigger goal, the big picture.
Yeah, and it really starts helping you change that persona and that perspective on yourself. You start seeing yourself as this, you know, versus I'm sitting here doing nothing. So it can be really helpful for like creating that momentum that you want.
Right. Well, Kevin, as always, love being here with you. So if you need any help, write us, DM one of us, or leave some comments below and tell us what you think.
Awesome.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.